You know what's funny? The fact that if you ask 99.9% of the Valorant player base, they'll all tell you that their ranked teammates are garbage. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but if 99.9% of the players are saying that their ranked teammates are garbage, does that make all of us just one big dumpster? They'll all tell you that their friends aren't garbage, and they say themselves certainly aren't either. So what gives? Why are all your ranked teammates always garbage? Here, let's take a look at a round from one of my recent ranked games. Now, just for the record, with this Odin, I had a nasty cypher set up towards A the previous round and got 2. I promise you, I'm not trolling. So it becomes obvious to my team that the enemy's gearing up for an A hit, and our Astra is fighting side by herself as no one can rotate fast enough to get to her. I end up going heaven and hoping my teammate, Sova, can get me a tag, and maybe I can get a wallbang or something. He can't get one, I swing heaven, and I die. So the issue with my gameplay is obviously that I swung heaven, with an Odin, like a monkey. But after the round, I blame our Astra for not playing retake with us. With her smokes, the retake would have been so much easier. Plus, no one was there to fight with her, she just was going to die by herself. But what wasn't obvious to me at the time is that I shouldn't be swinging heaven like that. Sure, our controller went down, but the round is still winnable if we play it correctly. I mean, I still have cages I can use as smokes, but I didn't do that and chose instead to blame my teammate. So why did I? Well, the answer to this question is actually more complex than you think. And believe it or not, it has almost nothing to do with the game itself, but the way that our human brains function. It's something called emotional mismanagement. It's our brain's defense mechanism for when something bad happens to us. Whether you realize it or not, our brain looks for someone to blame when bad things happen to you. This is similar to a student failing a class and blaming their teacher, or someone's partner leaving them, then immediately thinking that they got cheated on or that somebody else was involved. When things happen in a different way than you were hoping for or expected, then you need to critically think about what actually happened, and not just act on emotions.
Man, oh my god!
Imagine you're walking down the sidewalk in your school, you slip on some ice, you fall, and you hurt your bum. At first, you're probably going to be really annoyed, maybe embarrassed if there's other people around. Then you start to tell yourself that the school should have salted the sidewalks and kept their campus safe for students. This process that our brain defaults to is a lot easier than just accepting a simple fact. You got unlucky. Sometimes things just happen that are just so random that it's almost useless to try and find someone to blame. But our brain needs one. That's just our human instinct. Our minds are controlled by this cause and effect mindset. If something happens, there's a reason behind it. Not only that, but the reason is always someone else and never you, releasing us from any responsibility in the situation, which is a lot easier to accept.
You guys are so bad at the game.
So why does our brain think this way? Well, for one, like I mentioned before, it's a defense mechanism that shifts blame onto our teammates. Blame is also a way to attack other people. You can use it to hurt your teammates when you're angry or frustrated. And people are just simply bad at analyzing things. They let themselves get carried away by assumptions, stereotypes, prejudices, and nobody really reflects on what happened. Like, you might have a bottom frag insta-lock Jet, and she just got opt-in mid. You're blaming her for always swinging things and dying first, but in reality, you haven't used your drone a single time to help her get up site. Another thing to note is that most people I've come across, and most people in general, really just don't manage their anger well.
You, Matt! You, Matt! You fucking fam, that's so cringe!
A funny saying that I heard was that ranked is a lot like walking through a minefield. You say one wrong thing and just everybody explodes on each other.
Yo, do you ever shut the f up?
People just don't handle frustration well. When something happens unexpectedly, like a Jet starting to op on round 10 out of nowhere, they channel their rage, looking for people to blame, while repeating to themselves, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me, it was you, it was your fault," and instead blaming your Reyna who didn't flash for you. But in reality, you got caught off guard, and that just happens. That's life.
What the f is this game, bro?
So now that we recognize the process that's going on in our brain, how do we fix it? Well, we already passed the first obstacle, acknowledging the issue, but we need to go deeper than that. Next time you get frustrated in your ranked game, you need to remember what we just talked about in this video and reflect on the situation that you were just in. Think about what you could have done wrong, and I mean on every level. Why did you whiff? Were you just caught off guard? Could you have used utility better? Could you have used it in general? In a game like Valorant, it just isn't worth your time and energy to worry about your teammates and the mistakes that they're making. If you're doing everything that you're supposed to, eventually you're going to rank up. But if you just moan and groan about your teammates all the time and never take the time to look in the mirror, you'll be hard stuck at whatever rank you're at.
How? How? I'm a magnet for this shit, bro. I don't understand, bro.
With this blame everyone mentality, you won't be doing anyone any favors. You'll just be throwing your own elo, tilting your teammates, and just making the game less fun. But by reflecting on yourself and only the mistakes that you're making, you'll find yourself improving a lot faster and you'll just have more fun with the game. So what does this look like in Valorant? Let's take a look at some of the VODs that some of you submitted to the website. In this scenario, our Jett and her team are planning on doing a B push on split. The problem with this though is that the enemy team has a ton of utility that's going to punish them for trying to brute force their way into sight. Slowly, Jett's team dies to utility, unfavorable gunfights, and they just lose the round.
I don't understand, bro!
And if you look at chat, Jett immediately blames our Viper for throwing up her wall too early. But that wasn't the issue. Had Viper thrown her wall 10 or even 20 seconds into the round, the same thing would have happened. Jett's team would have gotten stuffed and they would have lost. Split isn't a map that you can just execute on. You need to bait out utility before you can do anything. It's full of narrow choke points that can be filled with all sorts of utility. So, if Jett sat and really thought about why they lost that round, it wasn't at all to do with the Viper, but instead how her team sort of brute forced their way through mollies. Or what Jett could have done was dash out on the site and help her Raze, or maybe should Raze even be out? I mean, probably not, but helping your team is much better than just sitting in B main and giving the enemy 1v1s. On split, you have to default more and get out some abilities before you can hit, especially on this map, where mid control is just so important. Jett should think twice about doing this again. Perhaps sending herself and 2 others up mid and 2 others push through B main, that would work a lot better. This is so that all that utility isn't being funneled into one area. But this is how you learn. You look at your past VODs and break down what you could have done better in order to win the round. Now in this scenario, we're going to examine a prime example of what I like to call overheating. What happens more often than not is when somebody gets 2 or more kills, they overextend, get greedy, and throw away their man advantage. Our Jett gets spotted by Sova's recon arrow, then uses her cloudburst to reposition. Doing so nets her 2 easy kills and almost a third. Now, here's when she slips up. The enemy knows the Jett is on the right side, so naturally their crosshairs are going to be there. Swinging out is an instant death for her. Had she just held that angle near the walkout of V-main, she may have gotten another with her Spectre. She also would have given her team enough time to rotate and help her out, but with little to no communication, they lose a round that could have won. When Jett dies, her first thought cannot be, oh, well, why didn't my team get into kills? And instead, darn, how could have I played that better? I know it kind of sounds like a meme, but you need to think that way too if you want to get better. And now for our last example, we have a classic case of hardcore baiting. Now, no one wants to admit that they're baiting. It's like one of the biggest insults you can tell somebody. In this situation, it looks like Sage's team is trying to take B site, but Sova is the only one trying to do so. Sage just sits in B main the entire time while her team is trying to fight site. Granted, nobody's really saying anything, but no one should have to in this situation. If you see your teammates fighting, fight with them. I don't care if you're reloading or doing whatever, you need to take the space when it's there to take. Then, I don't know why, but Sage then decides to wall herself in and eliminate all possibility of her trying to even out the score and make it a 2v2. Sage is down numbers here, and in order for her and Viper to win the round, one or both of them need to make a play. Sage could have maybe gone on top of her wall and caught somebody off guard, or wall off market to isolate the defenders near spawn for fights. Anything was better than what she just did. The biggest issue I have with all this though is that Sage doesn't know that she's doing anything wrong. She walks out of that round thinking that her team got unlucky, but if you really want to improve, then you need to stop being selfish, stop blaming others, and take a look in the mirror.
Stop laughing at me! I just died from behind while my brain is staring at CT! By the way, that's where I'm fucking standing!
But this was all just one in-depth guide that we have on our website though. Also, if you want a chance at having your VOD reviewed like these guys did, be sure to subscribe on our website at SkillCapped.com. We also have tons of Radiant Smurf commentaries where we have Radiant players walking through exactly how to play in any situation at any rank. And they're just super helpful to see in real time what goes through a top tier player's head. Like I said, it's also backed by a rank improvement guarantee, and the reason we do that is because you're just that confident that our service works. And if it doesn't work, then you shouldn't pay. So what are you waiting for? You got nothing to lose. Head on over to SkillCapped.com and get started in your way to that rank that you deserve. So hopefully you guys have a better understanding as to why your teammates might not be as garbage as you think. But maybe it's the person in the mirror instead. And seriously, not everything is your fault. If you want to get better at this game, you're really going to want a VOD review for yourself. Then over time, you'll see yourself become a stronger player. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel down below. It really does help us out. And that's all for us. I'm Teets, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.